So, what do we have? A generation raised to perform, told to compete, taught to self-optimize, compared constantly, sleeping less, feeling lonelier, working harder for less security, and inheriting a fragile future. By almost every measurable standard, humanity is doing better than ever. We live longer, we have better medicine, we are more connected, we have access to information that kings and emperors never dreamed of. And yet something feels deeply wrong. People are tired, people are anxious, they are restless, lonely, and this feeling isn't rare anymore, it's everywhere, especially among Gen Z. Surveys across multiple countries consistently show that Gen Z report lower life satisfaction, higher anxiety, higher depression, and higher feelings of loneliness compared to previous generations at the same age. According to the World Health Organization, mental health conditions are now among the leading causes of illness and disability in young people globally. So the question is not whether something is wrong, the question is why? Most conversations stop at the obvious answers. Social media, doom scrolling, comparison culture, addictive apps, and yes, those things matter, but they are not the root. They are accelerators. If social media disappeared tomorrow, the discomfort wouldn't vanish because the seeds of this suffering were planted long before smartphones entered our pockets. To understand why Gen Z is struggling, we have to go backward. Let's start with childhood. For many Gen Z kids, childhood wasn't a playground. It was a performance stage. From early schooling, success was narrowly defined: grades, rankings, certificates, achievements. The good kids were those who performed well academically. They were praised, rewarded, and held up as examples. Slow learners, average students, creative wanderers, many of them quietly learned that something was wrong with them. Reports show that academic pressure and standardized testing intensity increased significantly from 1990s onward. At the same time, studies linked academic perfectionism to higher rates of anxiety, burnout, and depression later in life. Children learned early that love and approval were conditional. And when those children grew up, reality hit really hard. Because the real world doesn't hand out gold stars for effort. It doesn't reward everybody. It doesn't reward anybody who followed the rules. The transition from structured achievement to chaotic adulthood created a psychological whiplash, and many were unprepared. Layered onto this was intergenerational comparison. Almost every Gen Z person has heard some version of this. In our time, we had less. We worked harder. You have everything, yet you complain. These statements are rarely meant to harm, but they quietly invalidate lived experience. What they ignore is context. Older generations entered job market with affordable housing, stable pension, and rising wages. Today, in many countries, young people face higher education costs, stagnant wages, and housing prices that have grown far faster than income. According to World Bank data, housing affordability for young adults has declined sharply since 1980s in most developed economies. So when struggles are dismissed as weakness, young people internalize shame instead of understanding structural change. Now let's talk about mental health, because this is where the data becomes unavoidable. Across the US, Europe, and parts of Asia, surveys show sharp increase in anxiety and depression among Gen Z since the early 2010s. The CDC reports that rates of persistent feelings of sadness among teenagers have risen dramatically over the last decade. At the same time, access to mental health care has not scaled proportionally. Many still grow up in environments where emotional vulnerability is stigmatized, dismissed, or misunderstood. So pain exists, but is rarely processed properly. And going to the next one, sleep is another silent factor. Gen Z sleeps less than previous generations. Average sleep duration has declined while screen time has increased. Research from sleep foundations and medical journals consistently link chronic sleep deprivation to emotional instability. anxiety disorders, impaired memory, and reduced resilience to stress. A tired brain is a fragile brain, and we built a world that never turns off. Now zoom out further. The deeper issue isn't just stress, it's structure. Modern societies increasingly value that can be measured: grades, productivity, GDP, engagement metrics, performance indicators. But emotional well-being is hard to quantify, so it gets sidelined. This is what I mean by metrics-driven societies. When success is defined numerically, people begin to see themselves numerically. Worth becomes external. Validation becomes conditional. Psychological research on motivation, especially self-determination theory, shows that intrinsic motivation leads to well-being, while extrinsic validation correlates with anxiety and dissatisfaction. Gen Z didn't invent any of this system. They inherited it. Then comes individualism. We are told that success is personal, failure is personal, happiness is personal. If you are struggling, you just need to optimize yourself better. More discipline, better habits, and better mind. But humans didn't evolve as isolated optimization machines. We evolved in communities. Studies on loneliness show that social isolation now rivals smoking and obesity as predictor of poor health outcomes. Community structures weaken, extended families fragment, neighborhood bonds fade, and we don't see neighborhood bonds anymore. And loneliness quietly became widespread. Work was supposed to compensate, but work lost meaning. Global surveys show declining engagement and purpose among younger workers. Many report that their job feels disconnected from impact or contribution. Efficiency increased, meaning declined. When survival consumes energy, fulfillment becomes a luxury. Now add existential pressure. Gen Z is the first generation to grow up with constant awareness of climate collapse, global instability, and uncertain future. Climate anxiety is no longer niche, it's measurable. Studies show significant portions of young people experience chronic worry about the planet and their future place in it. So, what do we have? A generation raised to perform, told to compete, taught to self-optimize, compared constantly, sleeping less, feeling lonelier, working harder for less security, and inheriting a fragile future. Social media didn't create this. It simply exposed it, amplified it, and monetized it. That's why upbringing alone doesn't fix the problem. The suffering tree was already growing. This doesn't mean Gen Z is weak. It means the environment is heavy, and understanding that difference matters, because once we stop blaming individuals, we can start questioning systems, and that's where the real change begins. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.